We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. The Sisters of Life have asked me to give a testimony. What does that mean? What is a testimony? Is it a homily or a teaching? Is it more theology or personal story? And what about the reason that all of us are here in our nation's capital? What about the pro-life cause? And what words could I even say here in the presence of the Word, Jesus present in the Blessed Sacrament? And in consideration of all of this, a prayer came into my heart. Oh, Jesus, just let me love you so much that I never run out of things to say about you. I first came to Washington, D.C. the summer before my junior year in high school. I was part of a group called North Dakota Teens for Life, and we were here for the National Right to Life Convention. I had never been to a place like this. I had never seen a city like Washington, D.C. I was a farm kid from the middle of nowhere in the last days before the internet. They took us to Arlington National Cemetery and to the tomb of the unknown soldier. I looked out upon acres and acres of tombstones, white, lined up neatly as far as the eye could see. And I was deeply struck by the grief and the woundedness of the human race. How we kill each other. How readily we kill each other. Whether it's a soldier or an unborn baby, or a person elderly and infirm at the end of her life. And then we make up words to sanitize our killing so that we can pretend that it's okay. We make white gleaming tombstones that shine in the sunlight to cloak and to disguise the deep tragedy, the blight, the horror of death. I was in Washington, D.C. a second time the next summer. One day, sitting in the back of the bus, I had the first conversation I've ever had with a pro-abortion Catholic. She was the delegate from Maryland, and she was so angry at pro-lifers. She was angry by how cavalier and insensitive we are about women, how we blame them for becoming pregnant, how we want to control their bodies, how we want to impose religious beliefs and convictions upon them, convictions and beliefs which they may not share. She was so angry. And she said, you know, it goes all the way back to the beginning, all the way back to that aboriginal catastrophe when the human race fell from grace in Eden. When God went looking for the man in the garden, what did the man say? He blamed the woman. He blamed the woman. He said, this woman whom you put here with me, she gave me the fruit of the tree, and so I ate it. It's right there in the book of Genesis. The man speaking, crying out to God in fear. and in resentment. This woman whom you put here with me, she gave me the fruit of the tree. And so I ate it. For a long time after that, I wrote letters back and forth with this delegate from Maryland. I had never met anyone like her, someone who said she was Catholic, but was so angry about it. In the winter of my freshman year of college, I wrote her a letter to tell her that my brother had died. I was the oldest of 7 boys, 7 sons, all in a row. I was the oldest, and the youngest was Matthew. I loved him very much. He was the joy of my joys and the light of my eyes. When I would come home after a super hard day in high school, he would be a fountain of affection. After Mass on Sundays, we would lie down together in the sunlight under the picture window in our farmhouse, and I'd throw him up in the air so high and so hard that finally neither of us could breathe anymore. One snowy winter day, that March, my brothers were sledding down the steep hill that goes up to the farmstead. And my father was moving bales in snow. And he told my brothers to stop sledding so that he could do it. But Matthew didn't hear, or he didn't listen. And he slid down the hill right under the back tire of the tractor, and he was crushed to death. It was a devastation. My heart was shattered into 1,000 pieces. And I wondered what I would do, how I would ever go on. And in my pain, I cried out to God for help. And he did help me. He helped me by giving me again, for the first time, the same gift that Jesus had given to his disciples on the night before he died, the night before he went away from them. The gift of the Eucharist. The summer after Matthew was killed, I was at a vocational discernment camp. It was very structured. There was time for us to pray and to study. There were chores. There was recreation. Everything was timed out almost to the minute. Except at the very end of every day, we would have a holy hour in front of the Blessed Sacrament. We would end with night prayer. One night, as I was praying in adoration, my heart was just aching. I missed my brother so much. I missed him so much, and I didn't know what I was going to do or how I could ever go on or whether anything would matter again. Everything had gone blank. Everything was gray and dark. And then something washed over me. There was a realization that came to me in the mystery of faith. It was a stab of grace. And I realized that my brother was with God in heaven. He was almost 5 when he died. And that I believed that he was with God. And I believed that the Eucharist right in front of me was God. And that the closest that I could ever be until the end of my life to my brother whom I missed was there in prayer in front of the Blessed Sacrament. And the words came to me of King David after the death of his son by Bathsheba. As the child was dying, he fasted and he wept and he would not eat and he prayed. And then when the child died, he got up and he washed himself. He ate and he did his work. And his friends said, "What are you doing? Why are you acting in this way?" And David said, "When the child was dying, I kept vigil because I thought he might not die. But now the child has died. He cannot come back to me. I must go to him." And those words thundered in my heart. The child has died. He cannot come back to me. I must go to him. But in the meantime, until I die, until I go to him, the closest I can be is here with the Lord in the Blessed Sacrament. And a wave of consolation washed through my heart. And then we all processed out around the statue of the Blessed Virgin. And there she was, so beautiful, so serene and kind, so filled with consolation and grace and love. She was very, very present that night, not a statue, but a woman, a mother. And in that moment, something happened for me. Something happened for me that made my grief, at least for that night, to dissolve as though it were a snowball thrown into the mouth of a volcano. What happened is I heard words I had heard once before, but they were flipped upside down. The meaning was completely different. And I cried out to God the Father, "This woman whom you put here with me, she gave me the fruit of the tree of life. And I ate it. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross, you have redeemed the world."